14 years. For some, it's a lifetime, for others, a fleeting blur. But for one family in Germany, it was an endless stretch of sleepless nights, unanswered questions, and a quiet hope that refused to die. A teenage girl with bright eyes, big dreams, and a future waiting to unfold, gone without a trace. This is the story that haunted a nation, baffled investigators, and revealed a darkness hiding in plain sight. Before we begin, if you're drawn to real stories that expose the hidden truths behind headlines, subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with me till the end, because this one will leave you shaken. To understand the tragedy of Georgine Kruger, we must first know who she was. Born in Munich on April 11, 1992, Georgine, or Gina, as her loved ones called her, was the middle child in a warm, close-knit family of 5. Her childhood was filled with laughter, songs, and dreams that stretched far beyond the walls of her home. She loved performing, singing, dancing, acting, not just for applause, but because it was who she was. Her spirit demanded expression. When her parents divorced, Gina's world shifted. Her brother Tommy went to live with their father, while Gina and her younger sister Michelle stayed with their mother, WZNA, and grandmother. Despite the emotional cracks that came with separation, love remained constant in their small home. Gina continued to shine, resilient, hopeful, and full of life. By age 14, her dreams began taking shape. She wasn't just another student with ambitions, she was a performer in the making, chasing roles, attending classes, and auditioning for television projects. When her family moved to Berlin's Moabit district in 2006, it felt like a new beginning, a place where Gina's talent might finally be recognized. But what began as a promise of opportunity would soon twist into an unimaginable nightmare. The summer of 2006 was a turning point. Gina, known for her striking charm and energy, quickly stood out at her new school. Teachers admired her, boys gravitated toward her, but not everyone celebrated her presence. Among the girls, jealousy brewed quietly. And though she smiled through it all, deep down Gina knew how isolating attention could be. Still, she stayed focused on her dream. That September, she auditioned for the popular German TV show Turkish for Beginners. Her performance impressed the casting team. She got the role. It was small, but for Gina, it meant everything. That weekend, she could barely stop smiling, practicing her lines, imagining herself under bright studio lights. But on Monday, September 25, 2006, the dream turned into disappearance. Gina attended school as usual. Her classmates later said she seemed distracted, glancing at the clock, waiting for that long-awaited call from the studio. When the final bell rang, she packed up, waved goodbye, and boarded bus number 27, her usual route home. She got off just a few blocks from her apartment. The short walk home should have taken 5 minutes, but she never made it. That afternoon, her grandmother set the table for lunch, expecting Gina to burst through the door any moment. Minutes turned to hours. The phone stayed silent. By evening, panic set in. Her mother, WZNA, returned from work to find no sign of her daughter. Calls went unanswered. Texts went unread. Gina's phone, which had been active all day, suddenly went dark. By nightfall, the Krugers contacted the police, but what they heard shattered their hope. Teenagers run away all the time, officers said. She'll be back. But the family knew Gina. She wasn't the type to vanish. Not like that. Not when she was waiting for a dream call that meant everything. The police finally launched a search. Flyers went up across Berlin. Officers interviewed neighbors, friends, teachers, anyone who might have seen her. Witnesses confirmed one thing: Gina got off the bus that afternoon. But beyond that, nothing. Search dogs traced her scent from the bus stop, but it vanished within meters. It was as if she had simply dissolved into the air. No signs of a struggle, no belongings left behind. Just silence. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. The case of Georgine Kruger became one of Berlin's most haunting mysteries. 1 year later, an anonymous caller claimed her body was hidden in a nearby lake. Divers searched every inch, but found nothing. Another dead end. Theories multiplied. Had she been abducted by a stranger? Did she run away to chase acting dreams in another country? Was she living in secret somewhere far from home? Her mother clung to hope, even imagining Gina smiling on a film set in India, chasing her Bollywood fantasies. But deep down, she knew the truth she didn't want to face. By 2016, 10 years had passed. The world had moved on, but the Krugers hadn't, and then, a single complaint to the police changed everything. A neighbor from Stendal Street had reported a man, Ali K. He lived just a few doors away from the Krugers. A husband, a father, a quiet man with a dark secret. He'd long been suspected of luring underage girls into his home. Years earlier, one teenage girl had accused him of assault, but due to lack of evidence, he'd walked free. Now, a new complaint forced investigators to reopen old files, and one of those names caught their attention again. Georgine Kruger. This time, detectives weren't taking chances. If Ali had hidden something for 10 years, they would find it. So they launched an operation, one unlike any before. Undercover officers were sent to infiltrate Ali's world, to earn his trust and draw out the truth. Agent Haken posed as a wealthy businessman, a friendly new face at the cafe Ali frequented. They began meeting casually, talking, bonding. Soon, Haken offered Ali a fake job, an easy way to make money, to build loyalty. And when the walls of trust were finally up, another undercover, Susan, entered the picture, posing as Haken's girlfriend, befriending Ali's wife. The trap was set, and what they would soon uncover would expose a decade-old darkness that no one had dared to imagine. It quickly became clear that Ali's wife was blissfully unaware of the darkness hiding behind her husband's calm smile. To her, Ali was a kind, misunderstood man, someone beaten down by life but still trying his best for their children. That blind faith made the agent's mission far more complicated. For months, Haken and Susan deepened their cover, sharing meals with the family, celebrating birthdays, earning trust. The line between pretense and reality blurred. They had to act natural, all while knowing the man across the table might be a murderer hiding a child's secret. Ali, at first, was careful. He spoke in half-truths, always steering conversation away from his past. But as the months dragged on, the mask began to slip. Late one evening, in a quiet corner of a neighborhood cafe, Ali told Haken something that made his blood run cold. He said he knew things about Georgine's disappearance, things no ordinary person could know. That single line, vague, almost casual, changed everything. It wasn't a confession, not yet, but it cracked open a door the agents had been pushing against for over a year. So they stayed patient. They didn't push too hard. They let Ali feel safe, invincible even. And eventually, pride did what pressure couldn't. One night, in a private conversation inside the agent's car, Ali talked, and once he started, he didn't stop. He confessed to everything. His voice, calm, detached, carried no remorse, only ownership. He described how, back in September 2006, he'd become obsessed with Georgine from the moment she moved into the neighborhood. He called her beautiful, perfect, and said her smile haunted him. He watched her from his window, followed her routine. He knew the exact time she returned home from school, the path she walked, and even which side of the street she preferred. That Monday afternoon, when the streets were quiet and no one was watching, Ali saw his chance. He approached Georgine, pretending to need help carrying something into his basement. The trusting 14-year-old, raised to be kind and helpful, agreed. She never came out. Inside, the truth turned nightmarish. Ali locked the basement door. When she realized the danger, she screamed, but no one heard her. He struck her, silencing her cries, then committed an act of unspeakable violence. When it was over, Georgine begged to be let go, and he made his final, monstrous decision. He pressed his hands around her throat and squeezed until her heartbeat faded. He told this story almost casually, as if narrating a memory rather than a murder. When asked what he did with her, he explained how he hid the body in the basement for several days, while the neighborhood above was flooded with search teams, posters, and desperate pleas. No one suspected him. He even joined in small talk with the neighbors as police combed the area. Days later, when the investigation slowed, he wrapped Georgine's body in a rug and dumped it in a garbage bin. The waste was collected that same evening and taken to a landfill for incineration. Her body was gone, forever. The hidden cameras inside the agent's car captured every chilling word, every pause, every sickening detail. For investigators, it was both a triumph and a heartbreak. They finally had the truth, but it was one that no one wanted to hear. When the police finally arrested Ali, he changed his story immediately. He said it was all an act, a story he made up to impress his friend Haken, who he now claimed was involved in criminal dealings. He said he was going to report the agent to the police, that he'd invented the entire confession as a kind of trap, but it was too late. The evidence was airtight, his tone, his knowledge, his details, things only the killer could have known. When his trial began in 2020, almost 14 years after Georgine's disappearance, the courtroom was filled with quiet tension. Reporters filled every seat. Georgine's family sat in the front row, clutching each other's hands as the prosecution played the recordings. Ali listened to his own voice on tape, eyes cold and expressionless. He shook his head, muttering that it was all a misunderstanding. But the more he denied, the clearer it became. This was the truth. He had described the exact time Georgine got off the bus, the layout of his basement, and even how her earrings had fallen to the floor during the struggle, a detail never released to the public. The defense argued there was no body, no DNA, no physical proof, that without those, there could be no conviction. But the jury wasn't convinced. This wasn't a story of coincidence or imagination. It was the confession of a man who had finally revealed what he'd buried, both literally and emotionally, for years. On a cold morning in March 2020, the verdict was read: guilty. Ali K. was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, one of the harshest sentences in German law, reserved for crimes beyond redemption. In that moment, silence filled the courtroom. WZNA, Georgine's mother, closed her eyes as tears streamed down her face. For 14 years she had hoped her daughter was alive somewhere, chasing her Bollywood dreams, smiling under a different sun. But that hope died with the verdict. Georgine's body was never recovered. There would be no grave, no place to leave flowers. Only memories, and a truth that felt colder than death itself. After the trial, the public was divided. Some believed justice had been served, that the confession, though missing physical evidence, was enough. Others whispered doubts, claiming the confession might have been coerced. Rumors spread through tabloids that maybe, just maybe, Georgine had run away and met a different fate. But for investigators who'd lived this case for over a decade, there was no doubt. They had heard his words. They had seen his eyes, and they knew. Still, the story left scars. Ali's wife refused to believe her husband was capable of such evil. Even after the sentencing, she defended him publicly, saying the man she knew could never hurt a child. Neighbors who once greeted Ali with a smile now struggled with guilt, wondering how they had missed the signs. Georgine's case became a case study in modern policing, how persistence, creative undercover strategy, and psychological precision could solve even the coldest of cases. The undercover operation was later documented in investigative programs across Europe, hailed as both risky and revolutionary. But for Georgine's family, accolades meant little. Their daughter's light was gone, and nothing could bring it back. Her mother still keeps Georgine's room intact, a small time capsule of a teenage girl's dreams, posters of Bollywood stars, a script on the desk, an unfinished journal entry that reads, "One day, I'll make it big. You'll see." The years that followed saw renewed discussions about how society protects young girls, how predators often blend seamlessly into normal life, and how many crimes remain buried simply because no one dares to look closer. Georgine's name became a symbol, not just of tragedy, but of truth finally uncovered. Her story reminds us that monsters don't always hide in shadows. Sometimes, they live next door. And justice, though it may take years, can still find them. Georgine Kruger's life was stolen too soon, but her memory endures, as a beacon of hope, and a reminder that no case is ever truly cold as long as someone still cares enough to fight. If this story moved you, subscribe and stay with us, because behind every mystery, there's a voice waiting to be heard, and a truth waiting to be told. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and remember, justice may sleep, but it never dies.